Hello, my name's Rick Patterson, and this is my Greenville story. I was born down on a border town, Orange, Texas, on the coast, the border between Texas and Louisiana. My father had a music store down there for 27 years, so I was actually born into that scene. He had a house in the back of the music store, and I lived there for the first 2.5 years of my life, and then we moved back up here to Greenville, where my dad's family, the Pattersons, have been around for a long time. I actually moved not too far from where we're actually at right now, right over behind the old Sears building, for those of you who've been around a while. It was a neat old house, back when life was simple and slower. I was the 7th out of 8 kids, so there was always a lot going on. And one winter, I remember just little bits and pieces from my childhood, but I remember I was outside in the front yard playing, and it was snowing. It snowed. And I remember my sister hollering for me to come back to the house, and I was just a little boy, and I was like, nah. And I couldn't tell where the yard ended and the street began, so I just kept on running. And I ran until a lady hit me right in the face with her car and knocked me out. I believe that's the only time I've ever been knocked out, although many have tried. We lived there for a bit, and then we moved over, not too far from there, over on Church Street. Right past the old Coca-Cola bottling plant, and back when J.P. Pump McNack still had brand new Cadillacs sitting on the showroom floor. And I remember one of the highlights of my week was on Saturday mornings. Me and my buddy Tim, we'd get up and we'd go downtown, because back then Lee Street was town, for those of you who remember. Wesley and all that was just way out yonder. So we'd go downtown and check out all the shops and everything. And I remember back when it was the old bank building, and they had those escalators in there. We'd go in there and ride those escalators like we was at a Six Flags or something, until they run us off. And we just enjoyed that so much. I've walked these streets 1,000 times, and no matter where my life, my music, business has taken me, I've always found my way back here to Greenville. It's always been home for me. I've heard so many people say, well, I just can't stay here no more. I can't stay there no more. I got to get away and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't believe that, because I believe you can move to a different state, but if you got the same state of mind, nothing changes. And so I just made changes in my life, and Greenville still worked just fine for me. I've seen it change, seen a lot of changes in Greenville, some for the good, some we're still waiting to see. I know Greenville's on the grow. That's exciting. But I was always a country boy at heart. So now I've got a little place out on the edge of town. But growing up here in Greenville, I was actually born into a band. My family was a band called the Singing Patterson Family. And, most people don't know, but Mickey Gilley and Jerry Lee Lewis used to play the piano for my mother. She was an incredible singer, and of course my dad played like Jerry Lee. So they were very, musically talented, and for all of us kids growing up in it, it was like growing up in a circus family. You just automatically learn how to do things. Like if you're in a circus family, you're going to automatically know how to do cartwheels and juggle and do things like that. Well, for us, it was knowing in 2 and 3 and go. Learning our instruments, learning to sing, Although I didn't sing a whole lot when I was little. I was bashful, believe it or not. But I did sing some. My mother and my sisters did most of the singing. But you had to learn how to break down and move equipment. I was breaking down complete drum sets and loading them in and out when I was 6, 7 years old. And that was just life. And I remember playing outside, and I had a sandbox, and it was a big old tractor tire full of sand, and I liked to play in it as long as the cats wouldn't cover me up in it. But I can remember my mother, one of my sisters, calling for me to come practice, and I'd have to tell my friends, "Sorry guys, I got to go practice." And I just looked at that as such a hard, heavy thing. I didn't realize how precious that was at the time until I lost both my parents and everything. But you also had to learn how to carry yourself on stage and around other people when you were performing and stuff like that. That, again, I didn't realize at the time. But as I became a man and began to come into my own in the music scene, those things started coming back to me. So I did that probably until I was about 14. It was about as long as they could hold the band together, because all my siblings were marrying and moving off and stuff like that. And so I'd play drums for my family until I was about 14, and that's what I did, because in school I wasn't a jock, I wasn't a prep, I wasn't a nerd, I wasn't, a geek or whatever they call people now. I was just, I don't know, I was just that other guy that played drums. And we had moved from a big house that we lived in over here on Church Street, where we always had a music room, and the noise was never a factor. My parents bought a smaller house over by the YMCA, and I had a little shed out back that I'd set my drums up in, and I'd go play. And about the third time that the police got called out, my parents were like, "Rick, that's it." And I remember laying there that night just feeling so broken, feeling like I just had no identity. Who was I? What was I going to do? I'm not the guy making the touchdown at school. I didn't really feel like I was anything. I felt like I was just lost. And the only thing that meant anything to me or that I was good at was gone. And I remembered my old buddy Tim had an old guitar that somebody had given him for Christmas years ago that was just laying in his closet with clothes hanging on it. I called him and asked him about it, if I could use it. And he said, "Yeah, man." He said, "You can just have it." I remember that old guitar. I had to play leaning backwards, because if I leaned forward, the pickups would fall out and hit the strings. The strings was about that high up off the neck, but it was something. And I really wanted to learn how to play guitar. I was changing, I was growing, and I really wanted to learn how to play rock guitar, play rock and roll. And my daddy wouldn't teach me. He could play 10 instruments. And I said, "Daddy, why won't you teach me?" He said, "I ain't going to teach you to play in some long-haired rock and roll band." I said, "Okay." One thing he did teach me, though, is he taught me how to use my ear. And I've always said that reading music is good. It's good if you can read music. But hearing music is great. And I heard the music, and I just began to plink and plunk on that guitar and learn what I could. That's back before there was YouTube, back when you just had to push play, stop, rewind, and pick up what you could. And so I began to do that. I remember going up to the mall, old Murphy's Music that was up there, and put me a really nice guitar on layaway, and I paid on that thing forever before I finally got it out. and started my own band, my own rock and roll band called Fallout, based out of Greenville here. Playing the Dallas scene and stuff like that. And that seems like a lifetime ago. I was a whole different person then, but I learned a lot. And it was during that time that I lost both my parents. I was very young and just lacking wisdom or anything like that. You know, my father was a pillar of this community for many, many years. And had a lot of wisdom, you know. Being the seventh out of 8 kids, there's always a big generation gap there, you know. My dad was born in 1920, pulled a cotton sack right here for $1 a day in the Depression. Went off to World War II, was on the beaches at D-Day, fought Nazis. And I just didn't draw off that wisdom. Maybe some of you had a similar experience, but if you do have your folks, draw off of what they have. And after I lost them, I began to try to find my place, not only as a man, but here in this community here. I did that for a while. Dabbled with another band or two here and there, and then we got the word that our baby that my wife and I had went to go have the sonogram where we could determine what the gender was. Went up to the clinic, and we'd already had a little baby girl that we loved dearly, and you know, we was hoping for a boy. And I never will forget that day. We were up there, we were all so excited, and the doctor asked us what we wanted. We told him we wanted a little boy, and he said, "Well, I've never been more sure that you got a little boy here." And we went from being just thrilled and overjoyed, and then all of a sudden I heard him say to the nurse, "Uh-oh." Well, I mean, you just don't say "uh-oh" like that. And it was on a Friday, and they said they wanted us to come back Monday. That wasn't working for me. So I asked my little girl to go sit outside in the waiting room, and I asked the doc, I said, "Okay, what's up? What's going on with my kid?" And that's when we learned that our son was born with very severe cleft lip and palate and some other craniofacial problems there. That was going to be a long road for him. Again, wishing I could talk to my dad during that time, but we're just out here. Greenville was our home, and we made it work right here. And fortunately, he's fine. About 27 or 8 surgeries later, he's fine. And he plays music with me. He plays the bass with me, and that has been one of the joys of my heart. How just from right here in Greenville, Texas, we could load up and go play shows together. I wrote a song that I know God gave me. You know, if you could have just had that feeling where God's just giving you something in spite of yourself. In spite of yourself, God's giving it to you. And I wrote this song with the tears just hitting the paper. And I knew it was something special. I just made a little demo of it, and we just kind of put it out there. And that song went to #1 in the world. The world. From right here, Greenville, Texas. And saying that to kind of also say this, that allowed my son and I to leave from here and go tour with, NASCAR Victory Tour and things like that. And, the only thing more exciting than getting to go play something like that, which is very exciting, was to be able to look over to my left and see my 17-year-old son, knowing his story, knowing what all he has gone through, just wearing that bass guitar out. He's never let me down on stage. To us being able to play the historic Texan Theater, which was fantastic, and to have him there. And if you played the Texan, you know how good they take care of you. If you've been there, you know how beautiful the place is. And we had an amazing show there. And I believe you guys come out and filmed that. That was awesome. And then one day, right here from Greenville, Texas, I got a call from the Grand Ole Opry. Wanted to know if I would come and perform my song, or if I'd like to come and perform. That's how it went down. They wanted to know if I wanted to come and perform. It was a tribute to a man named Dr. Ralph Stanley. They called him the King of Bluegrass. He was an amazing man. I believe he lived to be 90 and had like 100 albums. He toured the country and the world with his son and his grandson. Just had an amazing life, and they were bringing in hitters from all over for this tribute. But they said the thing is that everyone there had to do a song that Dr. Stanley had recorded in his life. So here I sit in Greenville, Texas, trying to figure out what song I'm going to do, because they sent over this big old long list of all these songs, and they're mostly bluegrass. Well, many of you know me, you know I'm hicky. I'm about hicking it up. And so I was kind of trying to figure out, how I could do this. And they said, well, pick out 3 songs off this list, and we'll let you know if you're going to do a solo or a duet or a trio. So, I didn't know if they was going to throw me in with somebody else or what, but it had to be off this list. And it was one of the neatest things, as it's just really earnestly looking at that list, and it's like all of a sudden this just leapt off the page at me. And this song said, "Don't Cry for Me." Well, that's my song. And this man never recorded this song. So I called the lady putting it together, and I asked her about the list, and she said, "Yes, Rick." She went over again, picked 3 songs, we'll let you know, all this kind of stuff. And I could tell she was real busy and, didn't have a lot of time to talk with me. And so we ended the call pretty quick. So I just went back to that list and I just circled that song and I emailed it back over to her. And I waited about 15 minutes. I called her back. I never forget, she answered the phone. And I said, "Yes, ma'am, this is Rick Patterson." She's like, "Yes, Rick." I know she was very busy and didn't have time probably to mess around with a lot of people. And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I just wanted to see if you got the email that I just sent you." She said, "One moment, please." And I could hear. She said, "Okay, I've got it." I said, "Are you looking at it, ma'am?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Do you see what I have circled?" She said, "Yes, I do." I said, "That's the song I want to sing." And now it was more like, like she's looking to buy a vowel. I said, "That's the song I want to do. It's on your list, and that's what I want to do." And she said, "Rick," she said, "I do not know why that song is on that list." And I said, "Well, I can tell you, but I don't know if you believe me. But I know God's going to move his song on in spite of me. In spite of me. Because in my best day, I'm a filthy rag. Guess what? Just like you. But God's going to move his song forward. And she said, you know, Rick, you're right. It is on the list. And I'm going to grant you permission to sing your song. And if anybody gives you the guff about it, you tell them to talk to me, because I'm running this show. I said, fantastic. I was all cool on the phone. And I hung up the phone, and I guess I cried for probably about 10 minutes after that. I go out there to do that, and the parking lot is littered with tour buses. Tour buses, just bringing in people from all over, and I'm like, who am I? You know, I'm still mowing my own grass. I got a good mower though, but still. And what an honor it was to meet the people that I met, and to have such an experience as to walk out on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry and to sing a song that I wrote. You don't boast in a gift. Don't boast in a gift. You just try your best to be a good steward of it and do right by it. And it was pretty amazing. And there was a few of us that were fortunate enough afterwards to have VIP passes for the after show party, where you walk the red carpet and whatnot. And we did, and we went into this huge room. It was humongous, just big tall ceilings and just this gigantic space. And they had it set up with tables with finger foods and different beverages or whatnot. And I'm just soaking it all in, because I'm just a little Greenville boy, right? I'm talking with this guy, and he says, man, you know what this room is? And it's connected to the back of the Grand Ole Opry. I said, man, I don't. He said, this is where they filmed every episode of Hee Haw. I was just like, it's a small world out there. And so it don't matter if you're a little Greenville boy or girl or wherever, you know, you'd be surprised at places you can go, especially if the Lord's taking you there. I moved to Nashville. I was out there for, I don't know, almost a year, but I've always come back home. I've always come back home. I love these familiar streets. I love seeing old friends that I went to school with and watching us all kind of grow together. And it's a good place to be. Greenville is a good place to live. There's so much. I mean, I don't know how much I could squeeze in to when it comes to my life and times here in Greenville, but there has been a lot. I remember when on top of the courthouse, that 5th floor, I remember when that was the jail. That was it. And then they built the other building over there with the overpass. I remember them building the overpass because I lived over by it. I didn't think they was ever going to get through with that. Oh my gosh. Then they built the other building. That was the jail. And now the other one. I still get my feed at the co-op. I still get good gas at my buddy's station. I enjoy the feeling of home. You know, when you lose your parents at an early age, and you go out and you travel around or whatnot, you begin to really hold on to what you do have, and that's memories. And those really mean a lot to me. Raised my kids here. Two of my children are grown, doing very well. I love them very much. My oldest daughter, Abigail, she's fantastic. My son, Zach, I've mentioned to you, and then my youngest daughter, Sarah, who's 14. The funny thing about it is my first two children were very calm, mild-mannered. You know, I could always leave my guitar sitting out, or if I was going someplace and talking with somebody, I could tell them, okay, just sit here a minute, Daddy's got to talk to this man, and then we'll go. And they were just very, very calm. Well, then comes Sarah, and she's like having a litter of puppies in the house. She's everywhere. Loving her through it, enjoying raising my kids here and seeing them coming into their own. There were one place I'd probably live if I wasn't in Greenville, Texas, and that'd be in Tennessee. And I left Tennessee to come back here. I think that there's good people with good hearts really trying here in Greenville, especially here in the downtown area. I'm very happy to see the life that's coming back in. Miss some of the old places that have gone. I miss old Henley's Hardware. Went in there 1,000 times, 1,500 times. I don't know who all of you out there remember where Walmart is now. It used to be a trailer park. Who would have ever thought? And to see all the new places coming. It's an exciting time that we're living in. And I'd like to maybe be able to show you some of these places where I grew up. I still vividly remember places around town. Like I remember where I first learned how to ride a bike. I remember both the places where I broke my arm. That's funny there. It was back whenever Evel Knievel was it back in the day. Evel Knievel was hot. And so me and my buddies, we was always jumping ramps and doing every knucklehead thing you could do. And me and my buddy was riding up to Woody's little store. Used to be a bunch of them here called Woody's. And I don't know what I was doing. I was probably trying to jump something on a wheelie. And I came down and I broke this left arm. And many people don't know it, but I was actually left-handed. And back then, you know, you had the old school cast that went up to here for like 2 months. And all the while in school, they're trying to work with me on this hand here. Well, 2 months is up and I get my cast off. And my parents, being the good, sweet, and decent, gentle parents they were, they threatened my life if I got back on that bicycle. Of course, you know, I swore up and down I wouldn't. So the first chance they left, I was on that bike. And me and my buddy horsing around. We're going to play chicken. Now my buddy, he was about, about 3 years older than me and double the weight, at least, Tim. You know, he was double the weight. And I got way, way back. And this back whenever, I don't know if any of y'all ever did this, but my bike was always a hybrid of all these different parts put together. It was just the beast. And man, I'm going. He's standing there and I'm not moving. I'm not moving. Well, guess what? Neither was Tim. I went right at him. He grabbed them handlebars and I come flying off and come down like this. I lifted up my blue jean jacket. My arm was broke again in the same place. Same place. So my parents found out. I think I tried to convince them that I was trying to save a child or do something noble, but they wouldn't mind that. Arm back in a sling. another 2 months. All the while, they're still working with me on my right hand, because that's what they did back then. Let's try to switch you over to right hand. And so by the time I got it off the second time, my little arm was about that big around, and I was writing right-handed. So that was kind of a neat little thing in my life there, how I went from being left-handed to right-handed. Probably why my handwriting is so poor. But I guess it was convenient for being able to play music, I guess. But just so many stories right here on these very streets right here. I don't know why I'd really want to live anyplace else. Why would you want to leave home? I guess for some people it's okay. I'm not judging. I've been around, I've traveled all over, but I enjoy being back here with my family and people that I've known a long time. It was the sweetest thing. When I came back from Nashville, right when I came back, they were having our 30th class reunion. For a lot of you who don't know, I'm an 8th grade graduate. I left home when I was 15, full of wisdom, youthful vigor, to go conquer the world. And I had that old junky guitar that my buddy gave me over one shoulder, didn't even have a case. And I had a green Army duffel bag over the other shoulder. Walking down Saukville Boulevard out there by the park, middle of August, hot, oh my God, hot. Going to go conquer the world. And a guy wound up pulling over, and he said, "Hey man, you play that guitar?" And I said, "Yeah, I play a little." He introduced himself. We talked for a little bit. I remember that's back whenever the Monte Carlo was a smooth ride. He was driving a maroon Monte Carlo. Well, I could feel that air conditioning coming out of that window. And he said, "Hey man, I just live right around the corner, and I got a studio there. I'm working on putting together a demo tape." Said that his wife, uncle, was a big producer in L.A. He was gonna get him. He's trying to get a demo. Go to L.A. Want to know if I want to come over and check out his setup. So I said, okay. So we went over to his house, and sure enough, he had a room full of recording equipment or whatever. He checked me out. I played and everything, and played on into the night. And he said, "I want you to spend the night, and tomorrow when I get off work, we'll work some more." I'm like, all right. So I just crashed on the couch. Now, mind you, he had 8 kids in that house. A set of newborn twins up to the age of 10. You talk about busy. They're busy. But they had 2 teenage live-in babysitters. So, girls. So the next day he comes in, we play some more and everything, and he looked at me and he said, "So man, what you playing?" Here I am, 15. Full of plans, right? And I'm talking about, now I'm looking to buy a Val. He said, why don't you just hang here with us, and we'll get these songs put together, and then we'll all go to California, which that was the thing back then. And I said, okay, hold on. Let me be clear. You want me to stay here, sleep till the crack of noon, get up and play guitar into the late hours of the night with these 2 good-looking teenage girls here? Is that what you're saying? And he laughed. He said, yeah. I was like, okay. So, lived like gypsies for several years doing that. Saying that to say this, I didn't really get to do the high school things. I think I might have went to high school for a month. I skipped probably half of that or more. I was just in a bad place in my life. I don't recommend it. And so I didn't get to enjoy, I never went to a prom, never went to a dance, never went to any social activity in high school. And so a friend of mine had reached out to me while I was still in Nashville, asking me if I was going to attend. And I knew I was on the way back, but I was just nervous. I didn't know how that would be, and I went, and it was one of the best parties I've ever been to in my life. Just the love that I received from all the old lines, how they just welcomed me in and loved me, and I guess I'd left enough impression in the 7th and 8th grade because I was running double and triple time in middle school, and just had a fantastic time, and that really softened my heart a whole lot too, to get to see some of my old friends from grade school and middle school and stuff like that as we grow and everything like that. And yeah, that was pretty special. Yeah.